John Ulzheimer is known as one of our nation's most recognized credit experts. Having worked for 28 years in the credit industry, John has become one of the most prolific speakers about credit and the go-to authority on answers to credit-related questions. Credit Countdown with John Ulzheimer.
Hello, my name is John Ulzheimer. I am a consumer credit expert. I have been in the credit industry for almost 30 years now. I spent time at Equifax, which is one of the recognized credit reporting agencies, and I spent time at FICO, which is the company obviously behind the FICO credit scoring system. So today's topic, the topic of this particular video blog, has to do with the effectiveness of submitting disputes to the credit reporting agencies through their websites versus submitting disputes to the credit reporting agencies through a paper letter using the good old-fashioned US mail system. So before we dig into which is more effective, I'm going to kind of explain the process of what happens when you file a dispute regardless of the method that you use to file it. So you should learn these four letters because they're very important to you. The FCRA is the acronym for the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and the Fair Credit Reporting Act it's a consumer protection statute, and it contains information regarding the rights that we enjoy as consumers as it pertains to our credit reports and some of the obligations of the credit reporting agencies as it pertains to the dispute resolution process, as well as the obligations of companies that furnish information to the credit reporting agencies. So when you file a dispute with the credit reporting agencies, you essentially set in motion a series of events that are largely mandated by the Fair Credit Reporting Act. I'm going to start calling it the FCRA for short. This includes the credit reporting agency has to perform what's called in the Act a reinvestigation. And normally what occurs when they do that is they will send a form to the company that furnished the information to them, which is usually some sort of a bank, credit card issuer, or a debt collector. And that dispute form essentially captures the dispute that you submitted and asks the furnishing party to perform an investigation regarding the topics that you have disputed. So if you dispute the balance of an account or late payments associated with the account, or whether the account is yours at all, that's what the dispute is going to indicate when the credit bureaus send those to the furnishing parties of the information, the banks, the debt collectors, and such. So you can submit these disputes through the credit bureau's websites, through the .com extension, Equifax.com, TransUnion.com, Experian.com, or if you choose, you can actually type a letter, print it, lick a stamp, throw it in the mail, and mail it to them. Regardless of how they receive the dispute, whether it's from a website, US mail, if you're fortunate enough to get somebody on the phone and you can submit a dispute on the telephone, or if you show up at one of their offices and hand them your dispute, they have the same FCRA obligations to perform that investigation, and the party that furnished the allegedly incorrect information also has the same obligations. There are a couple of differences. When you submit the dispute online, you need to read the small print when you're clicking I agree at the very end when you submit your dispute, or when you actually go through the process of finalizing the submission. You should definitely read the fine print because you may be giving up some of your rights to file lawsuits, and you might be forced into arbitration by submitting the dispute online. That may not necessarily be the case. I'm not a lawyer, I don't pretend to be a lawyer, but it is a possibility that you may agree to some language when you submit anything online, whether it's a credit dispute or you pay your bills online for your credit card. You're agreeing to certain language that you probably haven't read. And so to the extent that that's important to you, before you submit your dispute online, you should read the fine print and see what you're agreeing to and perhaps what you're giving up by doing so. When you submit your dispute, obviously through the US mail system, you really have no interaction with the credit reporting agencies other than the fact that they've received a piece of mail from you. Either way, the obligation to perform this investigation still exists. When you submit your dispute online, you're also going to be given the ability to submit documents to be attached with your dispute. So if you have some sort of justification that, for example, a bankruptcy's been discharged or a balance has been paid or anything at all to help justify your side of the argument, you can absolutely submit that online. And obviously, of course, if you submit it through the mail, you can just make copies of that stuff and submit it in writing with your dispute. Either way, when the credit reporting agencies receive that supplemental or additional documentation, they will actually attach it to the dispute form that is sent to the bank or the debt collector, so they can also see it when they're considering whether or not your dispute has merit or if it does not have merit. The only thing that you should be cognizant of with respect to filing disputes online is if you actually pulled your credit report through annualcreditreport.com, you got a free copy of it. If you submit supplemental information during the first 30 days of the dispute process, you may have actually just extended the amount of time that the credit bureaus have to an additional 15 days. Again, if you're not in a huge hurry to get a loan or to refinance something, then who cares? It's not that big of a deal. Most disputes are processed and completed within 2 weeks, and that's from the Credit Industries Trade Association that tracks this type of thing. It's very unusual that you'll see a dispute take a full 45 days. This language in the Fair Credit Reporting Act, this 30-day limitation on how long these investigations can take, this language pre-exists the internet. And so this is back when all disputes were done through the US mail system and fax machines and on the telephone. Now we enjoy the efficiencies of being able to submit things online electronically. And so even though the credit bureaus still have this amount of time legally, it's very uncommon that it ever takes that long because most of the stuff can be investigated much more quickly. This is an obligation, obviously, they still have, regardless of how you submit it. It still has to be done in a timely fashion. And when the investigation is done, they have to send you a copy of the results. They have to notify you once the investigation is over what the results of the investigation, what were they? And normally this is something that comes in paper. They may mail you an updated copy of your credit report with the results, or they may submit it to you online through, if you've submitted an email and you've agreed to be notified electronically. I can tell you that this is a much more efficient way to get it electronically versus getting paper copies of credit reports. And trust me, those are not things you want to be sitting in your mailbox for any extended period of time, because obviously the information that's on your credit report is very, very sensitive, and you don't want that to fall into the wrong hands, especially someone who's going around grabbing mail out of mailboxes. So again, to the extent you can get it done online, that's going to be something that you're going to want to consider possibly as your first option. This entire process that I just described costs you the grand total of nothing. You're not going to have to pay for it because there is no charge for this, all right? The credit bureaus don't charge you a fee to perform investigations. They don't charge you a fee for the results of the investigations. It's absolutely free. You can leave your credit card in your wallet because you're not going to need it, all right? If you have any questions about the dispute resolution process or the Fair Credit Reporting Act, then please drop them in the comment section below and I'll do my best to address them. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon.
For more videos and credit tips from John Ulzheimer, go to www.tradelinesupply.com.